The Alabama Farmers Federation and the Alabama Farmers Cooperative proudly present Simply Southern with your hosts Jim Allen and Mary Johns.
Hello and welcome to Simply Southern. I'm Mary Johns.
And I'm Jim Allen. Coming up on today's show, Sidney Phelps of Bonnie Plants will join us in the studio to answer gardening questions submitted by some of our viewers.
Kids and art galleries don't usually go hand in hand, but in Montgomery, there's a special place that lets kids be kids while they learn to appreciate art.
It's a place to be interactive, to be creative, to be inspired, to be free. You can touch art and artworks.
Agriculture is Alabama's #1 industry, and some of the best farmers in the country have their operations here. Today, we'll stop just outside of Birmingham to meet our state's top farmer for 2018.
What an honor it is to have the opportunity to take care of his land for a lifetime. And what a responsibility it is to pass that on to future generations.
But strap yourself in and get ready for takeoff, because we're going for a ride in a working piece of military history.
What sustains us? Food? Family? Faith. Alabama farmers live those things every day. They conserve our resources, clothe our families, and fill our tables. They cultivate jobs for our communities and values for our future. Farmers grow it all right here in Alabama.
There's no such thing as downtime when you own a farm. This is your land. You tend it and try to get the most from it, no matter the weather or time of day. It's been that way for generations. And for generations, your local quality co-op store has been there for you, with a full range of agriculture supplies and services, from feed to fertilizer, seed to grain storage, and the right hardware for any application. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
The United States Army is the oldest of our nation's military service branches, officially created in 1784. The mission then and today remains good old boots on the ground defense. But as early as the American Civil War, the Army has made some history off the ground as well. A group of veterans based in Ozark is paying tribute to the Army's aviation legacy, not with a museum or lectures, but through first-hand experience. Whether it's in a movie, documentary, or a picture in a book, there are few images more symbolic of the Vietnam War than the Bell UH-1 Iroquois, better known by its nickname, Huey.
A lot of 58,000 names that are on the wall in Washington, they were either directly or indirectly affected by the aircraft that's behind me in one way, shape, or form.
That was what took them to battle, took them out of battle, brought them to the hospital when they got hurt. Just about anybody that ever served in Vietnam had some experience with the Huey helicopter.
Today I'm getting the opportunity to take a ride in this iconic bird, one of a number of historic Army aircraft restored to flying condition by Friends of Army Aviation Ozark, a dedicated group of veterans and civilian volunteers seeking to preserve the Army's airborne legacy.
It started in 98-99 timeframe, and the founder was Brigadier General Dave Allen, who passed away this year on the 17th of March. The organization, we go out and we look for aircraft that we can actually put into our fleet. 123, which is behind me, is the aircraft once it was finished and completed, and we actually fly the aircraft behind us.
The Huey is one of several Army aircraft Doc and his crew take all over the Southeast to educate the public on the vital role air power has served the guys in green. Whether it was scouting enemy positions, transportation, medical support, or firepower, aviation has played a vital role for the Army, especially during Vietnam, often referred to as a helicopter war. Folks not only get a chance to see this old bird up close, they get to suit up, strap in, and experience some live action maneuvers.
We climb to 1,000 feet, and then we just do some basic 45-degree turns, 30-degree turns. We do a little collective, we bottom the collective out so they feel that sensation of what happens if we're getting shot at, you push the collective down. Nothing drastic, but it just teaches the individual in the back the maneuverability and the flexibility of that aircraft.
The money generated from these rides helps restore aircraft like this additional Huey and a Cobra gunship the group hopes to add to their fleet in the future. Watching these classic aircraft return to the skies brings an awareness words and pictures can't match. From air show rides to flyovers at ball games, hearing the Huey's distinct rotor chop leaves an impression, which may one day inspire a new crop of pilots to go green.
When we go to air shows, especially when kids come up, I'll tell them, you know what, if you scream really loud, he'll give you a real good ride. And guess what happens after that? And they'll say, what? I said, you want to be a pilot, so you can do the same thing.
But the Huey also serves as a reminder of those she carried into battle and the wounded she took away. For many who served, this old bird was their first ride on the journey home, and today a ride with this old friend is a time to remember and perhaps to heal.
One of the mainstays of this organization is to ensure that our veterans know that they are not forgotten. We have really, in our short period of time that we've been flying, have been able to provide closure to a number of Vietnam veterans with their families. When we go into an LZ and they're standing out there waiting to get loaded on the aircraft, you can always tell the one that was in Vietnam, and you could see his family off to one side of it, and they're just talking, having fun, because it's just going to be a ride for them. But he's back 50 years ago when he was in Vietnam. We take off, and the next thing you know, I'm asking the crew chief in the back, how's that family doing? And he'll say, Doc, they're talking up a storm. The whole family go together, and they're over in the corner, and they're talking, and they're talking, this is what Dad did, this is what he did in Vietnam.
Folks, this shows the dedication of our Simply Southern crew. We were on the outside of the helicopter, the outside seats, with the doors open, held in by a little strap of cloth about like this, up on our sides this way, and then up on our sides that way, and we managed to make it in one piece.
It's amazing that the equipment made it in one piece too, because you got to hold on to those cameras and everything.
I was scared.
But those old Army pilots put on a good show.
They did that.
Coming up on Simply Southern, we'll visit a kid-friendly museum where it's not only okay to touch the artwork, it's encouraged.
The versatile peanut, meat of the earth, friend of the soil, tasty, nutritious, packed with protein. And Alabama peanut farmers nourish some very special things: families, communities, and Alabama's economy. Peanuts. Good for you, good for Alabama.
Who drives your car? An athlete? A rocker? A dreamer? A survivor? A best friend? Alpha Insurance. As individual as you are.
The DR Trimmer mower is the original trimmer on wheels. Trim along fence lines, against buildings, and around gardens. Mow down thick grass and weeds on the toughest terrain. And now you can own a DR for as little as $349.99 with free shipping. Hurry, this offer won't last.
For your free buyer's guide and DVD, call 1-800-230-1030. Free shipping is now in effect. Online at drtrimmer.com.
A farmer has to live on faith. We do all we can do, but we can only control so much.
Alabama is the second largest poultry growing state in the nation, so we're trying our best to grow all the corn we can for that.
What we produce not only feeds and clothes all of the United States, but about half of what we make goes on to the world market.
We've been able to improve yields, have some things that can help us produce a better crop. I'm proud of the product we make and proud that I can say I'm an Alabama farmer.
Think back to when you were a child. You probably didn't ask your parents to take you to art museums. Those were serious places full of signs telling you not to touch anything. But in Montgomery, there's a gallery that makes museum going fun for kids and actually encourages them to touch the art. Don't be surprised if after one visit, your kids are begging for another trip to the museum. Melissa Bowman takes us there.
In the heart of the capital city is an art lover's mecca. The beautiful grounds of Blount Cultural Park are home to both the Alabama Shakespeare Festival and the Montgomery Museum of Fine Arts. The museum's impressive collection is definitely worth seeing, but be sure to venture beyond its great works to find something unexpected, an interactive children's gallery known as Artworks.
It was very much designed from the beginning to be a family space and for parents to be able to bring their children to the museum to give them that jump start in the arts and to teach them to love museums from a young age.
Artworks offers fun with a purpose. As children explore its many stations, they're being exposed to art, which is important to learning.
You'll see that when people study the arts, it tends to increase focus, it tends to increase confidence. We see all kinds of people open up when we ask them what they think about art. It resonates with them somehow. So art really, in a way, covers every discipline.
About 3,000 visitors come through Artworks monthly, which goes to show what a popular destination it is for families.
They love to have hands-on exposure, especially when they're really young. They like to be able to touch things and look at things up close, and to be able to come somewhere where they can do puppet shows and build and try on African masks and play with race cars, but be exposed to art at the same time is wonderful.
It's been said of Edward Hopper's famous paintings, like New York Office here on display at the museum, that they're so realistic, you feel like you could step inside. Here at Artworks, you actually can.
All of the art in Artworks is made so we can feel the texture, we can understand the materials, we can understand those things that the artists used to create their magical work. So it's a really special place.
From experimenting with color wheels to stepping inside giant kaleidoscopes, there's plenty of hands-on activities. But Artworks also offers programs that show children how art can be expressed in many ways across cultures. One such program is Earth's Heart.
There will be a country selected for each month, and week by week we'll kind of dissect a little bit of that country's culture, some of its architecture, some of its food, and kind of make learning about each country a little bit more digestible.
Earth's Heart programs have introduced children to places like France, Brazil, Korea, Germany, Russia, and Egypt.
I hope, if nothing else, they can look at somebody different than them and say, I understand a little bit more about you. And I think if it at least inspires them to have conversations, I think Earth Heart would be, in my opinion, a success.
Artworks is a place where children go to learn, and it's also a place where they can express themselves. It includes a children's gallery with works of kindergarten through high school students. Senior Lauren Beverly visited Artworks often as a child, and it had an impact. She currently has an award-winning piece featured in the gallery.
This exhibit is over the theme of community, and so I did a work called Open Up, and it's kind of inspired by a Russian nesting doll with different aspects that makes a good community on each one.
Families visiting Artworks can be assured their children are getting an educational experience. But more than that, they're also making memories. In addition to Artworks, the museum offers a host of programs and events perfect for families to enjoy together.
Just the park in general is a beautiful place to walk around with the duck pond. The museum, the cafe is wonderful too, so it's a great place.
You come, you see something differently, you see the world differently, and that's really what we work to do every day, is just to create learning experiences that people remember.
For Simply Southern, I'm Melissa Bowman.
I'm building my body.
Artworks is free and open to the public during the museum's operating hours Tuesday through Saturday.
And they're opening a new outdoor sculpture garden soon.
And that'll be a lot of fun for the whole family, kids and parents alike.
That it will. When Simply Southern continues, we'll meet a man who's been operating his farm since he was 13 years old. And the farm, which has been in his family for nearly 200 years, is receiving a big honor.
One out of 4 Alabama residents have benefited from the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. Last year, Master Gardener Managed Gardens donated $150,000 worth of fruits and vegetables to food banks, and over 25,000 young people developed math, science, technology, and engineering skills through 4-H. Now what we want to know is, how can we help you?
Soybeans is a very versatile product. We make crayons out of it.
A lot of the combines you see rolling through the fields have a lot of plastic side panels that are made from a soy product.
The soybeans that we grow on our farm mostly goes into chicken feed.
Soybean production in Alabama employs over 10,000 people.
We grow some of the best soybeans in the world.
We go the extra mile to make sure when our name is stamped on it, we know it's the best product we can produce.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education.
We're strengthening American agriculture and providing our members with the skills needed to build healthy local communities, a strong nation, and a sustainable world.
We are the next generation of agriculture.
It's our turn now.
Let's show the world what we can achieve together.
We are FFA.
Being a catfish farmer to me means carrying on a legacy that my father started about 35 years ago. It's a good way to take care of the land and provide a nutritious product for people all over the world. My name is Mary Quitman Helms. My sister, my father, and I own this farm, Lawson Catfish Farm, in Perry County, Alabama.
But for the love and faith of a grandmother, John DeLoach would be doing something other than farming today. Because she gave him the opportunity, however, he's now running a successful row crop operation just southeast of Birmingham. As Kevin Worthington tells us, his hard work is being recognized by the Alabama Farm City Committee as our state's farm of distinction.
While most teenage boys were chasing girls and cruising the town, John DeLoach was rounding up calves and hauling hay.
So I was 13 whenever my grandfather passed away. Grandmother talked about selling the farm. We talked about it. Decided I'd come every day after school to help her. Did that. At 16, when I graduated high school, I pretty much took over running front of that, making the decisions on the farm. And then we started building our own herd, progressing there. We used to haul cows at nighttime and work here during the day.
26 years later, John and his wife Kate have one of the most productive row crop farms in central Alabama. But the transition from managing his grandmother's beef cows to growing corn, cotton, and soybeans wasn't easy.
We rented 30 acres that joined us. The first year I planted with a 2-row planter, had no idea what I was doing. I had old 1-row ear snapper. I picked it 1 row at a time with a dump trailer that I built out of scrap material and a pitchfork to shovel that stuff and fork it around.
Today, the 1,325-acre farm, which has been in the DeLoach family since 1820, includes 375 acres of cotton, 250 acres of soybeans, 200 acres of wheat, and 150 acres of hay.
We try to make every acre we have count for something. We don't want any acre left just sitting idle that we're not doing something with.
John's land management plan includes 20 acres of improved wetlands where he regulates water levels to provide food and habitat for waterfowl. A big part of what makes John's farm distinct, however, is its yields. Last year he harvested 180 bushels of corn, 65 bushels of soybeans, and 1,150 pounds of cotton per acre. He says planting test plots with seed companies and university researchers has paid dividends.
The test plots allow us to not only enhance the industry, it allows us to know what grows on our particular soils. We don't do the test plot in the same field the same year. We rotate those around through the farm so we know what does best where. And we've gained a lot of information doing that.
John and Kate also give back to the community by hosting events in their camp house, which features tin and hand-hewn beams from the original farmhouse. As for the future, John and his son Jess are working to add honeybees, a vineyard, and agritourism to the farm. The thought of passing the farm on to the next generation stirs strong emotions.
We coin phrases such as stewards of the land. Our land is our legacy. Those are catchphrases you hear time and time again. We feel what an honor it is to have the opportunity to take care of this land for a lifetime. And what a responsibility it is to pass that on to future generations.
John's a member of the Agricultural Leaders for Alabama class and is active in the Alabama Farmers Federation, Alabama Cattlemen's Association, and Alabama Farmers Cooperative. He and Kate have been recognized at the state and national levels for their community service. For Simply Southern, I'm Kevin Worthington.
The DeLoaches won a prize package worth over $20,000 that included a John Deere Gator, a pole barn, and cash prizes.
Now, John is moving on to be Alabama's representative at the Sunbelt Ag Expo Southeastern Farmer of the Year contest, where he's going to compete against 9 other farmers from across the region. Now, during this next break, we're going to rearrange the furniture here in our studio to make room for Sidney Phelps of Bonnie Plants. He's joining us to answer a few gardening questions submitted by some of you, our Simply Southern viewers.
There's nothing quite like sitting down to a home-cooked meal with fresh vegetables from the garden. With Bonnie Plants from your local quality co-op store, you can enjoy the freshest vegetables right from your own backyard. And no matter if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, your quality co-op store has exactly what you need to get the most out of your plants. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
What we eat, what we wear. It all starts somewhere. And if it's good, it usually starts with a farmer. And that somewhere is right here in Alabama. In a field, in a barn, on a tractor. Right now, there's a farmer starting something good for all of us. And it all starts right here in Alabama.
For more Simply Southern, be sure to follow us on social media. And while you're online, visit our website, simplysouthern.tv.net. Simply Southern will continue in a moment.
We believe a plant should be more than a plant. This one is. It's all you need for your garden to succeed because it's a Bonnie plant. It represents hundreds of varieties of Bonnie's quality veggies and herbs. But more, it's from generations of Bonnie people who are passionate about sharing their love of gardening with you. Look for this little Bonnie plant and a whole family of plants like it in your garden center. Bonnie plants, so you'll know how to grow.
Welcome back to Simply Southern. Sidney Phelps of Bonnie Plants is in the studio with us today to answer a few gardening questions submitted by our viewers. So Sidney, thank you so much for being with us.
It's good to be in the studio. A little cooler in the garden sometimes.
Sid, the first question is, Rachel asked, why do the instructions recommend full shade or full sun, and how do I know what plants will work for me?
Well, it really depends on what they're planning on planting. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're strategically laying out your garden, depending on what you're going to grow or even decorate with, is going to really determine what type of sun usage you're going to have to protect it from. Since we primarily always talk about vegetables and herbs and those type of production plants, as I'll call them, you really want 6+ hours of sun. That's what we recommend for tomatoes and peppers because they're taking that sunlight to produce the fruit that you're going to harvest. So they need that to be able to go. Now, if you have those items that are in an area that don't get enough sunlight, they're not going to produce as much. And sometimes people can get plants and put them in a shady area and not have a production, and they think it's the plant's fault that they didn't get a good plant, but really it's not enough sunlight to help produce. So when you're planning for your garden, if you're going to use any type of production plant, vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, anything along those lines, even your cucumbers and squash, make sure that you get 6+ hours of sunlight. Afternoon sun is always the best. That's what I always tell everybody when they're laying out the garden design, to do that. Some herbs work great in shade and they don't need a whole lot of sun. But there's also other herbs that need as much sun. So the biggest thing is to lay out the correct path of what you need, even with perennials and annuals. If you have hostas that are in the sun too long, they're going to start burning up. You're going to start seeing the leaves wilt. So you have to even look at that. But pretty much any container that you look at is going to say it's going to need part sun, full sun, They can look at the information on that. The biggest key to it is research. Always research what items you want to plant before you even go to the garden center. That way you can be strategic and you know where you're going to put it in your yard before you even go make the purchase.
All right, good tips there, Sid. We've had a question submitted on our website. The lady said, I live in Northwest Alabama, been trying to find out how to grow strawberries. She asks, do they have to be planted in the ground or would a raised garden box work?
The biggest thing about strawberries is seasonality. You either want to plant them in the fall, especially being in Alabama, that way they can just kind of winter over and the production will start in the spring, or start them early in the spring and just, don't want to harvest any strawberries. Just going to make berries, but to really get good production of strawberries the first 6 months to a year, you don't want to harvest any berries. You want to just pick them off, let the plant build up its root system, and then you're really going to get a lot of production. But in the ground, you can definitely plant them in the ground. You want to make sure that you have it mulched well, that it's clean. Berries are very finicky when it comes to things like that. I prefer going the raised bed route because you can control the soil. You don't have to worry about the soil test, amendments. The drainage is already covered for you. Plus, when you're dealing with a raised bed, you can also have different style irrigation. But the key important thing is when you do have berries that are coming on for fruit, you can have a netting set up almost like a canopy to keep birds out so you don't lose the berries that you're working with. But any way is good. If you're going to go in the ground, I would recommend a soil test before you ever start working with it.
Got a question from Jay, says, do peppermint plants repel bugs? I know some people who have rubbed peppermint on their skin, and that's something you want to do.
It's a wives' tale. Peppermint, the plant itself, is not going to keep bugs away. The essential oil of the peppermint, if it's crushed up, the smell will deter them away from anything. But as you know, there are chances that people can be allergic or can mess their skin up. So always make sure you watch for any type of skin irritation when you're dealing with peppermint because it is very strong.
Those are really good tips, Sidney, so thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here to answer the questions today. And if you have a question for Sidney, drop us a line at simplysouthern@alafarm.com and he may answer it on a future show.
That's all the time we have for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us. I hope you'll be back with us again next week when we'll visit a unique landmark in Huntsville's art community. But you surely wouldn't want to call it a museum.
And we'll go along as about 1,000 students with special needs take a day off from school to go fishing. Thanks for watching Simply Southern today. I'm Mary Johns.
And I'm Jim Allen. We'll see you again next week.
Simply Southern is a production of the Alabama Farmers Cooperative and the Alabama Farmers Federation.